Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelly and I am so glad you guys are here. Today we're doing a Shop My Stash. This is a series I've been doing for, gosh, I want to think a year and a half now, maybe even almost 2 years, where I go into the archives and I pick a group of palettes that I want to get a little bit more familiar with. Sometimes it's a seasonal color story, sometimes it's a color that I really want to embrace, that I haven't, maybe fall in love with, but I want to get a little bit more into it. Sometimes it's a single brand that I want to get a better feel for that brand. Most of 2022, I think I've been doing single brands, although a couple times, no. So this is one of those ones where I'm picking palettes that are really speaking to me right now. Some of them are the color story because it's a little bit more of a fall color story, and we're in October right now, but I don't know, I've got changing leaves and I'm just kind of all in my feels as fall coziness goes. Not that you can tell I'm wearing like this sweater tank top, but it's warm in my house. that's kind of where we're at. So I have some of that color story. Some of them are ones they're kind of on the chopping block, and I feel like if I don't use them right now, I might not. None of which are what I have in my eyes right now, but these are the palettes that I kind of want to spend a little time getting to know. So they're going to be the ones that I'm largely focused on right now. I'm trying to clean up some of my mess. I did some cleaning earlier, and now I can't find some things. Do you ever have that happen? Okay, let's go through just quickly the palettes that I'm going to be using at this time period, and boy, is there a lot. I had originally filmed this video like a week ago, and then as I started going through and looking at other palettes that I really wanted to play with, I went, oh, I'm gonna have to redo this. So I'm scrapping my original version, which I think had like 10 or 12 palettes in it, and I'm coming back to you with a whole bunch of ones. I'm gonna try to use nothing but these palettes through perhaps October, November. We'll have to see if I'm still using them in December. Some of them might work actually really well for December. Some of these I might just use one time and go, okay, I remember I have my opinion on them. Some of them are from a similar, or some of them are from the same brand. Most of them are just a variety. So let's get into what I'm using for the next couple months. First thing I want to throw these three together. These are the Glam Light. These are the only three that I picked up in this collection. There were 4 in this original collection. I think there might even still be available. The Chocolate Martini one was by far my favorite. I loved this palette. You would think by the name of Chocolate Martini and how dark this palette is that it would be a lot like richer, darker, maybe even cool toned. And that's not the case. This definitely has some warm shades in it, so I love that. Second one is a Dirty Martini. If you ever follow like Samantha March, she raves about this palette. I love greens, and this is a fun palette. It does have a few little like seafoam kind of nods, which I don't think really go, and with the type of background it is, makes me not want to reach for them because I think in my mind it kind of clashes a little bit. And this is my least favorite in this collection. This is the wine palette, and the purples in here are not to me like a Cabernet and a Rosé and a Merlot or a Burgundy. These are a lot of Malbec, for instance. I would love to have a Malbec shade. None of these are Malbecs. These are, I mean, there is a Merlot in here, but none of these, oh, there is a Malbec. Their version of Malbec is this really bright royal purple. That's not any kind of Malbec I'd ever drink. That's a little bit like Ocean Spray, cran grape, maybe. I don't know. This is a very vibrant, bright purple palette. It's not a wine palette to me, but I'm going to play with those 3 in that series. I do have another Glam Light palette, and this is the Pie palette. And I loved this when I first used it. I'll try to remember to include video links in the description box if I've used these palettes before. But this was a fantastic palette. This is the palette that made me fall in love with the Glam Light formula. And this is the perfect time of year to use this. It's cheesy that it looks like a cherry pie, maybe. And the shade names are Apple Pie, Nutty Pecan, Blueberry, Mud Pie, Pumpkin, Mixed Berry, Blackberry, Peach, Sweet Potato, and Cherry Pie Blush. This is fun. If you're not going to use it at this time of year, I don't know when you're going to use it. This will be my Thanksgiving dinner palette, I think. Okay, this is a palette that I used when I filmed it. Turn around, put it on my shelf, and then I forgot how much I really, kind of stuck together, how much I really do want to get back into these warmer. You have these oranges in the middle here, and for whatever reason right now I'm feeling like the orange turning leaves is really drawing me to this palette. LA Girls formula, really good for a budget-friendly brand. Probably one of my, I'm gonna say that the LA Girl is right up there for me as far as quality goes and consistency, like I would expect from ColourPop, really. To me, I feel like they're kind of interchangeable. Sorry, I like the LA Girl quality. Since I started using them, I've really been impressed. This is not a new palette. This came out, I think 2 years ago. This is the Pumpkin Spice palette. I didn't buy the one this year, but again, if you're not going to use pumpkin spice in October and November, when are you going to? This is the time of year. Although I think some of these shades in here lean a little bit towards, I don't know, maybe February, March, getting into spring a little bit. It has a little hint of pumpkin pie with whipped cream kind of scent, but not overpowering. I really like the palette. I just haven't used it in forever, for a very long time. Okay, this is a little bit of a newer palette in the collection. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette. And I thought these dusty colors would really go well for when I want a cool tone kind of look. I thought they would go really well for this fall season. And it's a newer palette in my collection and I want an excuse to use it. An excuse to use the palettes that you own. I guess that's kind of what I should call this. Speaking of that, using a palette that I own, this is the Alamar Cosmetics Reina del Caribe eyeshadow palette volume 1. I have both number 1, number 2 and the Spanglish palette. I didn't get Encanto, but that palette right there, I'm thoroughly excited to get my fingers back into. There's 4 mattes and 4 shimmers. The shimmers, 2 of the shimmers are like accent colors. I think they can be really dramatic, but the mattes in here I think are super beautiful, and I think they'll be great, easy, everyday wearable shades. And I like the formula. I did mention ColourPop. I'm gonna pull out, I think these are the only ColourPop palettes I'm gonna try to focus on right now. One of them is called At Forest Sight. This is the one that Raw Beauty Christie did with ColourPop, and I was super excited to purchase this and kind of give her a little bit of love. She lives, I want to think like 3 hours or so, give or take, from where I live. We don't know each other. She doesn't know me. This palette, because I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and I've lived my whole life here, and I still live in the Pacific Northwest, although I travel quite a bit, the fact that she took shades from what she saw around her just makes this a very special palette to me. So I'm excited to get back into some of those jewel tones. I think it's going to work out really well. Lust for Dust, I mentioned this recently as like one of my kind of recommended, if you're going to buy a ColourPop palette for fall. They had some sales with some mega palettes. This one was the same price as kind of the sale price of some of the other ones, but this has that same kind of dusty quality, that kind of murky quality, and maybe almost like a little bit grungy, I guess. The shades in here just don't ring clear and true. They're just a little cloudy, I guess is probably what I would say. And I love this palette. Yeah, I haven't used it as much as I'd like to, which again is why I'm bringing it into this collection. This reminds me of the Nouveau palette a little bit. Okay, and then the last one is my most recent, no, I have another one in here. Where did it go? I just realized as I was talking about this, actually I have 4 ColourPop palettes. This one is one that I just picked up, and it's called On the List. I was traveling for work, popped into an Ulta to get some eyeshadow base, and I saw this, and I went, add to cart. Did I need it? No, but I'm super glad I have it. It's got some, you know, kind of apricot-y shades, some warm shades. These 2 shades right here, I think, make it an interesting fall palette. I think this is gonna work really well. I haven't played with this yet. It's brand new to me. If you want me to come back and do like 3 looks of this palette, leave me a comment down below. It may end up working its way to that list anyway, but for now, I'm not gonna give it a first impression. I don't think. I think I'm just gonna dip my brush into it and start using it. Okay, this is the Hocus Pocus palette from 1 or 2 years ago. I can't remember. This is called Gather Round Sisters. As I'm filming this, I have the other 2 on their way. The Hocus Pocus 2, and then the other one that was like Witching Hour, I think. But anyway, this is the first palette from Hocus Pocus. Oh, and I just lost Bewitched, which is like a grungy green. Oh no. Well, I've got it on my skirt. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that off here. Well, that was sad. So I just lost like this dark grungy green in here, which was probably my favorite shade in this palette. I got some of it, so I remember not to tip it upside down. It's now kind of a loose pigment. I don't think there's enough in here that I'd smash it back in, but now I have a big mess. Well, that did not go as planned. Darn it. Well, so maybe I won't be using this one. We'll have to see. I don't want to like completely throw it away because of one shade, but I want to be realistic about what I'm getting out of it too. And if I was mostly drawn to those greens, now I've got just dark green eyeshadow. If I was originally drawn to those the dark greens in there, and the dark green just crushed. It's just never gonna be the same for me again. Yeah, I literally have dark green eyeshadow over my skirt. That's gonna be fun. My husband's gonna be like, hey, why'd you have to change your clothes? Again, okay, let me get into this here. I gotta move on because my husband wants to go somewhere and I have to go with him. Okay, I am gonna grab this one from Sydney Grace. This is the Autumn Rain palette. Very similar color story to the last one. Beautiful. I don't have that same dark grungy green, but I do have one called Majestic Breeze, which is absolutely beautiful. So we got that one. Love Sydney Grace eyeshadows. I do have two from Nomad Cosmetics. One of them is Haunted Europe and one of them is Berlin Underground. These are both a lot of fun, kind of grungy. Reminds me a little bit maybe of that Martine palette, but not quite. Maybe a lighter version of the Martine palette. This has a little bit more on the gold side, which for a while there I kind of got away with golds. The one thing I don't like about this one is the majority of shades in here have some sort of some sort of shimmery, metallic-y, and I wear more mattes than I wear sparkly shades. Okay, and then Haunted Europe. Love this palette. I love all these palettes so far. There's a couple that I'm like, is it time? This is the Haunted Europe palette. It's a much larger palette. Again, you have some really fun shimmers in here, but I feel like you've got a few more mattes. Yeah, like 9 of these are mattes. Great palette. I'm so excited for changing seasons so I can play with some of this stuff again. I did grab the Sigma new Mod palette because I wanted to play around with this a little bit more. Some of these berry tones I think can work really, really well. It does have a little bit more of a cooler toned berry look to it. Beautiful, beautiful palette. Some of these more expensive ones, after I film with them, I want to just keep them all safe and pretty, and then I forget to go back in and use them again. And that's one of them. I think I almost forgot about that one. Here's another one that I almost forgot about. This is the Dominique Cosmetics The Moment palette. I loved this when I first got it. This is such a heavy, thick, like weighted palette, this component is, and the shades are very beautiful. A little bit more, I mean, you got 2 real blues in here, but like this shade, gorgeous. This is an easy palette to use, and it's nice big pan size and a nice heavy component. Naughty Nudes, Naughty Nude by Huda Beauty. This is my warm, super warm palette. I believe I have the Milky Way from C Color Cosmetics, which is the dupe for it. Zeus just came down and joined me. Actually, both dogs came in and joined me. Anyway, this is a gorgeous palette. So warm and cozy, and I'm excited to play with it again. Okay, the next 4 palettes are ones that the jury's kind of out on. I have to decide if I like it. One of them is the Olive You Forever from Violet Voss. This is one, I can't remember if this was like an add-on from a subscription box that I no longer have. The color story is beautiful. I don't think I used it very much. And so now I'm like really feeling greens right now, and these kind of warm shades and these cool tone greens are really speaking to me. So I'm excited to get back into it because I'm hoping it'll work really well. I'm hoping it will be really good quality and it'll stay. It'll live another day. This one, again, not so new. This is from Beauty Bay, another affordable brand. This is called Wilderness. These are very bright, vibrant, like a more mature a more mature primary color palette. I loved this when I used it. I'm so excited to play with it again. These are big palettes. I also have the other big ones. Like I have the Earthy palette, the Berries palette, the Midnight palette, the bigger ones. Not the Berries, I got a smaller one. But this Wilderness palette I thought was really beautiful. All of these I thought were beautiful at one point in time, otherwise I wouldn't have bought them, right? Okay, these last 2 are very old. One of them is the Delancey Maelstrom palette. This was super popular like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. But gorgeous palette. This might be better for like February. I don't know. We'll have to see. If I don't reach for it, then I'll give it maybe one more chance. But this is kind of on the chopping block. Then this Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. This palette, every time I wear this, my husband compliments me on my eyeshadow. Every single time. I cannot get a bad look with this palette. I love this palette. In fact, so much so that Colored Rain just recently launched a few more palettes. Because of my experience with this one palette, this is the only Colored Rain palette I have, I went ahead and ordered some more because I needed more. Okay, honorable mention. This is a palette. Oop, I'm falling apart on my lap here. There'll be some palettes that I'm playing with because I'm doing reviews on them, new releases, things like that. The Natasha Denona My Dream palette, I will be using that one, I'm sure. I'm sure I can't not use it on occasion because it's just so easy and it's just really such a beautiful palette. And then this one from Il Makiage. This is the Kathleen Lights Disco Fox palette. This is just so easy. I've been using this so much. Probably one of my best purchases this year, in all honesty. And I don't know her either, but that's it. This is a lot of palettes, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19. I've got 19 palettes in here and a pumpkin pie palette. I'm going to, so that's 20 palettes I'm going to try to use. I'm not going to use the Sisters palette, Gather Round Sisters. If it already fell apart, I have the other two coming. The Witching Hour and the Hocus Pocus 2 palettes. I don't know. I have to clean out the broken one, and then we'll see if I even reach this. But the fact now that it's busted, I've had it long enough, it's probably time to say goodbye. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys found this somewhat interesting. The takeaway, I think, from videos like this is I am a lover of eyeshadow. I'm a lover of makeup. I'm a lover of beauty. And I want to go back in and use some of the stuff that I've invested in. I got none of this in PR. I purchased all this with my own money. All of this stuff. All of the things. And at some point in time, I have to say goodbye to some of it. Sometimes I have to do declutters, and I'm feeling like one's coming up here pretty soon. I got to get rid of the stuff that I just don't reach for. So some of these, I'm giving them one last chance before they're out on the chopping block. If I find myself in the next 2 months when these are sitting right in front of me, if I find myself not using them, I'm not going to keep them. I literally just got rid of the PR boxes for these ones from Glamlight. So I've got a number of ones that are still on their way to me that I haven't arrived yet. And there's always stuff I've got to film here. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing really well. I hope this interests you. Check my description box. If I've done a video on it, I will include it down below. If I have not done a video on it, but you would like to see one, let me know. Leave me a comment down below and say, hey, I was thinking about getting that, or I saw this on clearance somewhere, or I need more inspiration to go back into one that I already have. Leave me a comment down below. I'll try to hook you up. I usually try to do my requests as quickly as possible. I've got a couple that are sitting here that I haven't filmed yet. I hear you. I haven't been home. All right, you guys. I love you guys. I hope you guys are doing really well. And until my next video, bye for now.